Boys, episode 5 is finally out, and it's titled The Last Time to Look on the World of Lies. This is going to be a fun discussion, guys. Make sure to leave your comment down below, as well as hit that like and subscribe button for more of the Boys content every single week. We're going to be discussing the show, and of course, this will be kind of a non-spoiler review with certain spoilers. Now, Amazon Prime was very nice to actually give me the episodes early to watch, but they did provide me with a do not reveal list. So some of these things I'm not going to be able to talk about, but we can have a great conversation down below in that comment section. So leave those comments down there. With all my boys things, since there are so many characters, what I like to do is actually split it up. We're going to talk about some of the 7 first, then the boys, and maybe something else along the way. Now, with this whole thing, the one element I do want to start out with talking about is the boys. Because there is a lot of elements that happen this week with them. And first, it's them. They're coming back from Russia. They're dealing with the ramifications of what had happened out there. And of course, Kimiko was very much hurt. They got to get her to the hospital, Frenchie and her, and certain things that are happening in there, which I really liked their development and the things that actually happened in between here. Now, of course, the Russian lady that sent them to Russia was not happy with what had happened out there. And, well, now, something's going to go down with Frenchie. But before that had happened, certain things between Frenchie and Kimiko and seeing this relationship finally start to fluster just a bit more was very sweet. And there's one moment in particular, which we got a glimpse of in the trailer, that finally happens in this scene. And it was truly perfection. I loved this moment in between both of them, and it was truly, I love what they're doing with Kimiko personally, because she's always been one of the more fascinating characters for me, and I think this season has really much developed her in such a fantastic way, and that scene in particular was perfect for both Frenchie and her. Now, jumping over to MM and everything going on with Mother's Milk. Of course, he goes to see his daughter, which, he comes back from Russia. He's kind of contemplating, am I done with the boys? And he's, he's teeter-tottering here and there, but he goes to pick up his daughter, says hello. But what is she watching? Homelander himself. And she sees all the Homelander stuff she has, and how her stepdad's just totally fine with it. Of course, he starts kind of breaking down and, like, the PTSD flaring up. Like, he is not the guy you know, which leads him into the discussion of this kind of PTSD trauma of, like, I have to stop Soldier Boy from what is going on. Because as certain things reflect, Soldier Boy does something in here that is not great. But when it finally comes into play, it brings a big element to the boys and their lives. And for me, with Mother's Milk and everything that we kind of see from there, it would make sense for his character. Tying us back to him now, Butcher, who, again, we get a little bit more development with certain things between him and Maeve and what's going on there, which, again, interesting to see how Maeve is kind of this whistleblower for the 7, which we learned a couple weeks ago. And I like that. I like that touch, and I like their dynamic with one another, especially the way that it kind of singes this little spark between them. And they have a really good banter and chemistry with one another that I really do appreciate. But of course, she throws in more V, and that's definitely what they need, because with Superboy running around, or Superboy, Soldier Boy, Homelander, all sorts of things like that, they might actually need that. And then we go to Huey, who opens up and tells Starlight, you're probably going to need a beer for this, and tells her everything that had happened in Russia. Soldier Boy's still alive. I took V. I can teleport, all these things like that. And her drinking, that was a hilarious scene that I really liked. But with that, when we look at these characters and we look at every single person and how it is interchanging them, very much leads us to the finale of this episode, which is very important. They need to find where one character is going. And how do they find this character? Which ends up, the whole build up to that, there's a great cameo in that scene, which was absolutely hilarious. And I just died laughing in that moment. Was it needed? No. But was it fun? Yes. And it was an absolute satire to what is going on in our world, especially in certain things in social media. So I very much like that. And for me, in that entire moment, in that entire sequence, the way that it builds up and ramps up was beautifully touched. Especially in the way that the episode ends, it makes me so excited to see next week's episode, to see what episode 6 will bring us next. Which, if I'm understanding from my calculations, I think next week's episode's Herogasm, which is going to be really interesting to see how they put that on the screen, and I'm very excited to see that. But of course, we talked enough about the boys, and of course, the ending of hinting of where that's going. Let's jump over to the 7 and everything in that nature, because we have a couple characters to talk about here. A-Train and everything kind of going on with that element with his brother Nathan, and even, of course, Blue Hawk, who They are doing a really good job with some of the social touches that are kind of, again, hinting at sort of things like Black Lives Matter in the way that it reflects to our world, which I really like how this show is doing that. Now, that's going to be up for debate with everyone else and how they handled that scene, but I do like that, and I like how this show is subtly touching on it, but also showing the harsher outlook of it. And you know, if this was real, it would feel real for this. And A-Train, for me, is starting to become a very interesting character again. I really like this performance that he gives, and certain things that happen in that apology scene is really great. Speaking of, let's jump from A-Train all the way over to the Deep. The Deep is kind of pissing me off. I love the actor, and I think he does a really good job, but his wife texting him and, you know, trying to do all this and then ends up firing the whole entire forensic team, that just is not going the right way, and that entire 7 is just starting to crumble, which one of the best scenes is, of course, now that Stan Edgar is fired and taking a sabbatical and all these things, Homelander is pretty much now in charge of everything. And when he walks in and sits in the chair and one of the board members tells him something he doesn't like, well, how's that supposed to pertain to him? He's definitely not going to like that decision. And I love Anthony Starr in that moment and exactly how he's like, so you're just calling me stupid now? And the frustration that we see through him out in this entire episode, of course, with him and, of course, Starlight and him kind of going off on her. And you can just tell the stress of, like, I didn't understand this. Because, in a sense, Homelander is still a very immature person. He's not matured at all. He didn't have a childhood. He was made in a lab, in a sense. And for me, it's always been a very interesting character because how do you balance that immaturity but as well as the superpowers that he does have? And I really like this moment, and it all leads up to something that really much happens with, of course, one of our other characters in here, and Black Noir being a part of that, which, again, interesting. I'm very surprised to see where that goes. But all the tension is ramping up, all that psychological nature and everything going about with Homelander just builds uneasy tension within every scene that he shares with another character, because you really never know if he's going to explode like a ticking time bomb. And that's what makes me love his performance. And overall, that's what makes me love this entire show. Now, the last thing that I do want to mention in this episode is stuff with Soldier Boy. A lot of the do not reveal stuff is actually about him, so I'm going to stay very vague on this, but I am absolutely loving what they are doing with Jensen Ackles. I really dug him in Supernatural, and I think he is absolutely such a great star to bring in as Soldier Boy. The moments that we got in here with him are important, and I cannot wait to see what they do with him in next week's episode. So other than that, guys, there's nothing really more that I can actually talk about because of the do not reveals, but let me know down below what your favorite moment from this episode was. Again, hit that like and subscribe button as well as comment down below, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. So of course, until next time, stay classy.